everyone, it's Joshua G. Faulkner. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Let me know how you're doing in the comments below, and make sure to like this video and subscribe because we're going to be ranking today all 8 Encanto songs from the worst to the best, showdown style, taking 5 different categories where I give points, 1 to 5 points for each score, 5 being the most amount of points, and then add the category points up in order to get the total and fitting it within my ranking. And those 5 categories go under the music, how it sounds, the visual, how it works with it, how the animation works, the creative blend of both the music and visual, how they blend together and match the style of the beat. And then there's the resonation, how it works for me preferably, and how often I may repeat it. And then there's also the tonal shift, how the mood swings throughout the song seamlessly, like how well it can transition through different things. And of course, you can do it in whatever way you want, but this is just my way of scoring. Let me know if you'd like to see more of these song rankings down in the comments below. But without further ado, coming in at number 8, we have All of You, and this is one of the finale songs. As I re-listen to the soundtrack I often listen to on YouTube, I completely forgot about this song, and I watched it the whole movie not too long ago, but it's forgettable because it's pretty brief. It's like a minute and a half. It's at the end, but it just doesn't really stick with me. So it has some energy, but lacks some merging with the sight and sound and how it just flows together. And so with this song, I have to give a 3 to the music. It's solid. 3 to the visual. It's about the same as everything, all the rest of the animation. And then I have to give it 2 for the creative blend. The music doesn't always line up with the visual going along with the beat. And of course, as I just sort of mentioned, it doesn't really resonate with me. So I have to give it the lowest score of a 1. And for the tonal shift, I have to give it a 2 because it just doesn't transition quite as well throughout the moods. It's solid music, but overall, it comes in last place with a total of 11 points. Coming in at number 7, we have Dos or Burritos. And you may be wondering what this song, because this was another song I kind of forgot about just because it transitions with how they're telling Abuela's story, how her history came in, and it has an interruption with the story of the dialogue in between the main portion of the story and the end. But for this, because it does have a good amount of mood, the music I have to give a 3. It was a solid song. It doesn't stick me so much. I give it a 4 for a visual because it portrays a lot of the mood through what it's showing through that story and the past of her Abuela's life. And then I gave it a 3 for creative blend. It's not bad, but it's not all that great either. And then repeatability, again, I had to give it a 1 because I even as I watched it in preparation for this video, it has that interruption with the dialogue. And so the song itself as a whole, at least through the video of however I watched it, it just doesn't stick with me. And tonal shift, I gave it a 1 as well, just especially because of that dialogue scene. And overall, that puts it in 7th place with a total of 12 points. Coming in at number 6, we have Colombo, Disney Encanto. And this is a solid bop that doesn't really have its proper place. It's more unique by not having a character singing. It's a transition piece where they have some outsider singer that's not even a character, that it still works really well and adds a certain aspect to the movie that helps the movie thrive along as we're getting a transition for the kid to get to his door and having that party at that point. And it really works with the blend of music and the visual. It's more of a nighttime scene now for the first time as we're getting something different and it's working through that transition. And the sound really works well with the visual this time around. It's not the greatest, but it still works in some certain way that makes it a solid and above average song for this music piece. And overall, I have to give it a 4 on a music scale. Again, it works solid. Visual is a 3. It's something different and unique. The creative blend it has its sounds that work to the music sometimes, but doesn't always match up all the time. And so I have to give that a 2. Repeatability scale, I don't often remember this just because it's not one of those vibrant things where it has themes that you really stick with you. And so I have to give that a 2 on a repeatability and resonation category. But the tonal shift, I have to give it a 5. It's really great to add into a party, and it moves and runs smoothly throughout, even as it transitions back and forth to certain moods within what it's going for. And so that gives it in 6th place with 16 total points. And then coming in 5th place, we have The Family Montreal. And this is a solid song. The very first song that's an introduction. It's a creative way to introduce everyone. It doesn't have a strong sense of theme because its purpose is simply to introduce the setting as well as some of the characters. This is first song after the prologue, but it's a solid introduction that really creates a scene with the visual and what the mood it's going for. It's overly positive because that's what the family comes off as at that point. You haven't yet found out some of the conflict that's going on just yet. And so overall, the music, I have to give it a 3. It's average, I would say. It's interesting just with this song that it's just introducing characters, so it's not something that you're gonna go to all the time, even though it's creative. And with the visual, it's 3. It's again, it sort of goes along with the main color choices. And a creative blend is a 4. It jumps up to that as it just really uses some knocking on the doors and other transition beats to add to the music. The sound that they make on screen is adding to the song that's occurring as well. And then the repeatability, I have to give it a 3. Sometimes I rewatch it. I don't often save it to my watch later to really add it to the soundtrack, but overall it's good. And total shift is 3 as well. It has great transitions that sometimes, but they're with the kids asking questions, it does break the presence of the song just a little bit. And overall this gets another 16 points, but it came in above the previous song because of the resonation and my personal preference on that. And then coming in at number 4 is What Else Can I Do? And this is a solid song where Isabella is having her self-discovery and finding out how to be perfect as she's trying to get that hug and getting fixing the family as they discover more from Bruno about that stuff. And so with the score, I have to say the music is a 5. I really love that high fluctuation within the music and the crescendos and just the transitions and everything that goes along with that. Music is 5, visual is a 5. They're getting really creative with all the art style and just expressing herself through these flowers and changing it from just to being perfect red or pink flowers to being all sorts of colors expressing herself. And so it just works with the theme. And with that, I say the creative blend is a 4. It doesn't quite fit the top tier of what I wanted from it based on the flow, and sometimes certain alterations don't quite flow the right way with the music, but it's still really good most of the time. Repeatability, I have to get a 4. I sometimes put it on repeat and just replay it even before going on to the next song, but it's not my top choice that I personally would choose. And the tonal shifts, I would give a 4 as well, so it's a solid song throughout, and overall it earns 22 points that is really good to listen over and over, and it really adds a lot to the movie as well. And coming into our top 3, but before we begin that, make sure to comment down below your favorite or your top 3 favorite songs from Encanto. Is it We Don't Talk About Bruno, or is it one of these other more obscure ones that you can get into? I'd love to hear all your thoughts on this movie and the songs down below. Let me know if there's other song rankings you'd like to see me do. But going back to the video, moving on to number 3 is We Don't Talk About Bruno. I know this is a highly popular song, but through these ranking categories, I really got down to breaking it down through the categories, and that's what I felt was the best way to do this judgment. And And we don't talk about Bruno. It's obviously complex with the merging near the end and just having these different mood shifts over and over throughout, but also telling so much stories and visual stories throughout all that it has to offer. So the music, I have to give it a 5. It's really solid how it transitions throughout and crescendos and gets quiet at certain times and just goes through all these different wavelengths that really brings it together in the end. And then the merging of 3 different stories again near the end is really solid, that I have to give props to. And then the visual is a 4. Again, it's a little bit of the same sort of down to earth setting. You're not getting super creative with it, but it still works for exactly what it's going for. Sometimes it breaks out and goes into a dark hole that isn't quite the reality of the story, but so it does break ground through what it's going through with that. And then the creative blend is a 5. The way there's sounds that match with the music that they're naturally doing, it just works quite well. And just the lightning strike, adding sound and transitions and just all those sorts of things really add to the music and the movement involved. And resonance and repeatability with me, I had to give it a 4. I don't watch this all the time, but it does have quite a strong essence on me, and the popularity that I still highly enjoy it because of that merging, especially near the end of all these different stories and how well it does on telling that, but it just didn't land all the way with me. So I gave that 4. And the tonal shifts, it's really well, once again, in shifting from story to story, that's definitely one of the most and best of this. So I had to give that 5 with a total of 23 points out of 25 for We Don't Talk About Bruno at number 3. And at number 2 is Waiting on a Miracle, and this is another strong sort of resonating film or song with me that is her wanting to really express her powers, but she doesn't have her powers yet. So it's like a frustration with her, and you see the frustration and different verbal body movements through that, and the expressions she makes. How that works all with the song is just well perfect before we get to the main conflict of sort of seeing the house break apart. And so with that, we get the music, I have to give a 5 for sure. It really sticks with me and is just really creative in the movements and crescendos and a highly diverse voice acting within that. And I have to give it the visual is a 4. It gets a little creative with where it goes. It breaks through Abuela's door and you see the outside and these lights, but with that, the creative blend with that, it's really solid that they're getting out of the regular world of the story, but it also doesn't blend quite so perfectly to where it matches with the sound of the background as well as what she's singing. So while it gets creative, and I like that for what it's doing, it doesn't always transition at the right moment of as the crescendo or as the transition of the beat matches up with that. And then resonating and repeatability score, I have to give a 5. Of course, I really highly enjoy watching this all the time. Or even on repeat, I'll just play it after another. So that gives another big reason to put it up there. Tonal shift, I have to give it a 5. It's really seamless with its transitions from sort of the expressions of her voice and the mood she's feeling. You can really see that she's desperate and she's wishing and hopeful, wanting to get a power of her own that she just can't get and feel included like the rest of the family, because this is sort of an abusive family just with how Abuela treats them and what she expects from them. And so overall, it's a solid song that is sort of opened up that almost in a way one of the Frozen songs you would get from Elsa does in that way. And so overall, I have to give it 23 points once again, matching up with We Don't Talk About Bruno, but it had a higher point score on the personal preference, and so that's what put it on number 2. But coming in at number 1, we have Surface Pressure, and this is such an expressive song. Again, with you get a lot of the resonance with people having to break out of their feelings within this film and be honest with her, and it's just really incredible what this song had to offer visually and music-wise, the flow and the transitions and everything that it expresses. It has so much more settings and world building within that you see a lot more explanation within the words she's saying in translation to what's being put on screen. And even though it breaks out of the real world in order to do so, it perfectly matches what she's saying in such a creative art style and way that it very well matches what you really need to, with like surface pressure and there's the geyser bursting out, or the part where Hercules fights Cerberus but runs away, and so she has to fight, and just the expectations that's weighed down on her, and how her strength is impacting the family, and how she's expected to continually help out even though sometimes she just needs a break. It's just expressed so well in all of these different visuals and actions, and just the flow of the song just clicks with me so well. And so I overall, for the categories, I have to give it a 5 for the music. It really resonates well with me. Visual, again, it's really creative with what it does with it, and of course with that comes the creative blend that I also give a 5, because it transitions in the best way, even better than we don't talk about Bruno at some points, to where the flow just clicks every time, beat after beat, with the change of scene, and the music flows exactly with that, and rock candy hitting the ground, and it makes that sound that it works with the crescendos and the quiet noise and just the rising of voice, and just how her voice fluctuate with what is needed, and then you hear her emotions throughout the song with that. And of course, as you would expect, that puts at 5 points for the resonation and repeatability score. And as I also expressed, the tonal shift also gets a 5, which gets this a total of 25 out of 25 points. So that puts Surface Pressure as the perfect score of this film or song ranking. And I just highly enjoy it from beginning to end. I highly love repeating it. And though I still highly enjoy many of these other songs, Surface Pressure somehow just really speaks itself to me. You hear everything that is going on within this song and the themes that it expresses. So that's just my ranking of all these songs in the Showdown style. Now I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, as well as your own takes on these songs, if you have broken it down into categories, or if you just go by your own preference, your own feeling, and how you interpret this music. We all interpret music and films different way, so I'd love to hear your take and what is your favorite song from this list. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Bye for now.